Welcome to Real Battles, Real People. I'm your host, Christian Bancourt, and today I have Amy with me. How's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you for having me.
Please introduce yourself to the audience.
So my name is Amy, and I guess my struggle really was refinding my life after raising children and having a husband that's worked a million hours, and I found myself heading towards life coaching.
And what was your background on that? Like, what inspired you to become a life coach?
I was an accountant in a former day, and I could actually talk about what it was like to do tax returns on dial-up when people didn't really work at home and the struggles of trying to balance that when it didn't work. But I heard about life coaching 20 years ago. And I said, wow, this is really like probably much more aligned with who I am. And then I looked at my children and a husband that works 24/7 and said, I can't do this and spend this money now. And back then there was no internet. How would you find clients? I mean, I wasn't going to go hit up my friends and family. And so I kind of waited on it and found my youngest finishing up school. And I said, okay, I can pursue this now. And as I pursued it, what I found is that so much of what I've done throughout my life, my language, the way I've spoken with people, really did lead itself to more coaching. In fact, my husband said my parenting style is coaching, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. What other things are you going through right now with anything that you're working on?
Well, the life coaching has led to me meeting so many people and helping so many people just on my own time figure out their lives. And it's led to my meeting this person, and we're going to start a podcast called 15 Minutes with Amy and Faith, where we're going to talk about really what it's like to be a Gen X woman and the challenges that come along with that, aging parents, children that are going through a million things. I mean, we've all had children that are work your way through the school system. Some of us have had to deal with kids that have special needs, kids that they're not a round peg and they're not a square peg. So how do you help that kid get through school? How do you get that kid to adults when they should be paying their own phone bill and somehow they're still on your phone plan? The challenges that come with parents that are of a different generation and a different thought pattern. But then, wait a minute, we're supposed to understand how Gen X thinks and how millennials think, and we don't think the same way. And we are sure as heck not the target audience on TV anymore. So there's so much to being at this part of life. But then what's kind of cool is when I get to coach with people, if they're willing to accept my lived experience, helping them navigate the CPA exam, starting a business. A friend who adopted a child with needs at 50 and helping her navigate the school system because it's something I've had to do. So it's kind of cool to be able to use what I've experienced and help people.
And what other common everyday struggles do you think that parents are going through?
Well, I think that we are always looking at what's best for our child and navigating a system that doesn't match what we grew up with. And how do we get through that? My friend keeps thinking about school when we went to school in Brooklyn. But the school system isn't the same as it was back then. And what the kids are expected to know isn't the same. And you live in some communities, and the kids are supposed to come to school like really ready to learn to read, which is what they're supposed to be now doing in preschool, as opposed to getting to kindergarten and first learning to play and socialize.
Yeah, I find it struggling, between parents and children, it's an issue just like, going through different types of battles, especially with your children.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. And like my daughter will tell me things. My daughter's a new teacher, right? A preschool teacher, and she'll tell me, "Well, I know this because I'm a teacher," and she discounts anything I knew because, hey, wait a minute, I raise children. Like what you're telling me is what parents go through, but she can't step back and see that.
Yeah.
And then there's the struggle of becoming a certain age, right? So I turned 60, and I know three people that would have turned 60 exactly when I did. And getting up and realizing as you're listening to your mother tell you all the people she knows is dying. Wait a minute. I turned 60 and these three people are supposed to turn 60 with me and they're not here. And that was really like, wow, that's really weird, right? And then getting a letter from my pen pal who we could be writing to each other for 40 years. I've never met her. She lives overseas. And her thoughts on turning this age and what a struggle it is instead of celebrating that you're here, celebrating everything you've accomplished, being almost sad. And that kind of like, I just wanted to, I don't have a phone number. I wanted to get on the phone with her and say, let's try to rethink this. Let's reframe it. Let's find another way to view this. Not necessarily being super happy, but just kind of finding just like the right spot with it, the sweet spot to be okay. And I think that goes to any battle you're dealing with, right? I mean, whatever's coming about, and no matter how horrible it is, and gosh, there's horrible things, just trying to find a way to be okay at the moment.
Makes total sense. I'm a first time dad. My kids are 3 and 2, so it gets overwhelming and there's a
And
lot of
tiring.
yeah, very,
But
very
you know what? They're gonna grow
big.
up and everyone's gonna say to you, like they said to me, enjoy this. They grow up so fast. You're like, shit, I'm tired. I just want to rest. Hey, wait, I just want to go and have a nice, peaceful dinner, have a drink, relax, right? And it's not going to happen, right? And then one day it happens again, and you're like, wow, it didn't take that long. But at your point, it's all you think about.
Yeah.
So, how do you learn to cherish this time? And it's so funny that you said what you said because I was on a call earlier today with someone who was watching their grandson, and the baby was so cute. And trying to remember when my babies were that little. And as you talk to this baby who's so little they can't, they barely can really respond, right? But you see, no matter what you say, the baby is smiling, the baby is reacting. The simplest thing.
I think the what you're trying to get at with your podcast is your delivery is to parents and teenagers and children, even babies, and that how you can rise above it. And what you're talking about is like, how to manage, when it comes to a point where you're just tired, fed up. What do you do in that situation?
Well, or when you're dealing with your mother who's older and telling you the same story for the 70th time, right? And isn't getting what you're saying, right? How to step back and put a perspective on it and appreciate that you still have them.
My father used to tell us, when you have kids, you're gonna know how it's like all the time.
You didn't believe him, did you?
No.
And now,
Yeah, shut up.
you know what I said when I first had kids. So my kids are in their mid to late 20s, right? You have kids. And the thing your parents did that you loved, you redo. The thing that your parent did that you didn't like, you do the opposite, right? And you know what? Your kid's still gonna be mad at you. And so just coming to terms with that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't that much of a bad kid or anything. I was very rebellious. I think as soon as I became a teenager, and I would run away from home or get kicked out of my home and come back. And most of my life, it was as soon as I joined the military, I come home, I leave, get an apartment, I come back home, I leave. Have you ever gone through that?
You mean the runaway, the run? Sorry, what did I call it? I called it something. Oh my God, uh, the boomerang child.
That was
Yes,
me.
I have one of those. She went away to college, not far enough away. She was home every weekend. Came back and decided to go to the same school, but go to the city one. Then we had COVID. Then she moved out to do her student teaching, right? Then she came back. Then she moved out for grad school for a short period of time because she realized she could commute. Then she came back. Then she moved out again for 13 months. Now she's back. It is challenging to be supportive and find this balance of you can't live in my house like a roommate. I'm not giving you a shelf in the refrigerator, right? So you have to somehow be part of the family, but you're still an adult and you have to behave like an adult. That balance is hard.
Yeah.
But I like this term, boomerang child. So you were the boomerang child.
Yes, I was. I was me and my father never got along. And, he passed away 3 years ago from COVID. And it's been, you know, he was an alcoholic. He was drinking all the time, fighting. When we were kids, we get our ass whooped, and you know, it was just nonstop. Anything you could find, a stick, a belt,
Oh, that's hard to deal with.
yeah. So there was a lot of things that were going on that it kind of led me to join the military to get away. I couldn't deal with that toxic, father and son relationship, and there were times where he was sober and we'd talk and everything was great, but it was just the alcohol and led me to the military and I think once I got out, we deployed to Iraq and I came back home, I started looking at things in a different light and I started maturing more. And then came the second tour, and then I ended up moving out and I got my own condo. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm looking for a relationship. I'm looking to get married, to have kids, and that's what I want.
So you went after it.
I went after it.
Because, people think that nothing happens if you sit at home and you don't do anything. You somehow have to put yourself out there.
Yeah. I set a goal. Like, I want to be a homeowner. That was my goal. And my father taught us about credit. He's like, make sure that those credit cards that you get, you pay them back. And that's how you build credit. My
So
credit score is like,
he taught some good things.
yeah, my score now is like 840.
I'm impressed. That's very good.
Yeah.
So even with all the bad from the alcoholism, which is terrible, he did teach you some good things.
Hmm. He did.
When he passed away, did you have any peace?
No, I never got to, he was in Colombia and South America, so we weren't able to communicate as much. Um, but I was able to, uh, send a prayer, ask him for forgiveness, ask for him to forgive me and back and forth. And it
Yeah, I was
was,
going to say, do you have forgiveness for him?
yes, yes. And
Because that's important too.
I was able to move on, to forgive him and everything. For me, because I wasn't perfect, but I'm happy that you're taking this approach and it's gonna make a difference. I'm telling you. This is something new. I never heard of something, your approach of doing something that has to do with, families and dealing with the fact, well, my kid won't move out, or why am I paying his bills, his
Well,
phone,
yeah.
and his car insurance when he should be working?
Well, there is this thing about this stay-at-home son. I think in the old days we would say kids not that aren't launching, but it's just the way life is. It's so different. And what is stopping us from pushing them? Why don't we push harder? Why don't we? We're afraid to do that sometimes. but just finding the right way to do it and to make peace with it and be comfortable with it. And in the old days, I think you got your own phone because there was no cell phone. So you moved out, you had to get your own phone, right? And now
Yeah.
everyone's got a cell phone. And I remember calling the cell phone company to find out if my kids should be on their own plan and to hear, well, it's more expensive. Well, so how many people will actually have their kids pay them for their phone?
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't be paying for their phone.
Yeah. When I was 16, I ended up getting a flip phone. I was working and I was paying for it.
And you
Uh,
should be paying for it.
yeah, a beeper.
A beeper. Wow, we're going back into the days. I never had a beeper, but I knew people that had beepers. I remember having what is it, a Palm Pilot,
Hmm.
right? Because then all of a sudden, how do you make play dates for your kids? What a weird concept that was. I mean, being a kid, you went out to play, right? You went to the local playground, it got dark, you came home. Now people make play dates.
Yeah. When it comes to what you were talking about uh with your kids, with all these habits that you're paying for and all you want to do is for them to have a great life, to pursue something that they want to do, that they're going to be happy with, and things like that, that me as a new parent, that's what I'm focusing on now. And they're only
Well,
young. They're only 3 and 2, and I'm already thinking about the future when I'm not, thinking about what's now. And
well, try to
sometimes
try
I
to
get caught
focus a
up in
little
that,
bit.
and I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
second. They're 3 and 2. We're
Yeah,
just gonna
yes.
play. We're just gonna play
Yes.
and have fun, and you know, it's it's great. It's great.
And and
You know,
and let them play and have fun.
yeah. And
But I went to something when my daughter before my daughter graduated. She has a master's in education. So we went to this thing and probably being one of the few local families, I listened to a guy that was I think a high school history teacher. And then he talked about being happy and how he wouldn't have done this if he wanted to be happy. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, what would you do? Right? And this concept of paying the bills, you have to pay your bills. And how do you pursue what you like? And if you have a job, can't you pay your bills and pursue what you like and find this balance? I had this own conversation with my own kid who came up with all these great ideas. And I said, look at your boss, right? How does your boss live? And his boss, like, they can work from home for the month of August. He's in tax, right? And they can work any way they want. And this guy goes to Europe and goes and works anywhere he wants. So, what do you want to do? This guy has enough money to do the things he wants to do in his spare time. So, is there a way to appreciate what you do and find the things you like about what you do, and then take your money and pursue the other things on the side? And how do you find that balance? Because you still have to pay your rent. Still need a roof over your head, right? You still have to pay your electric bill. You still need to feed yourself. So it's got to be a balance between being happy
now
and
with
covering your expenses.
now with your kids, they pay their part.
Well, my son does. He doesn't live with me. And my daughter, when she doesn't live with me, pays most of our expenses. I think I'd like to see her start to pick up some of the other things that, it's just like she does pay some money towards her phone bill and things like that. But she doesn't ask for anything. I mean, she pays her own rent. We know kids that don't pay their own rent. She pays her bills. She's just got student loans that are we help a little bit with. But
How
I know
would
people that pay a
you,
lot of things.
with your approach, helping parents out, how how can you how can you ask them this? What kind of rules would they set? Would they feel guilty?
I had that conversation about with someone who she felt guilty that the son is in college and the girlfriend was doing a study abroad and that she couldn't send her kid to see the girlfriend. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's talk about this. And we kind of covered the approach of what it was like when she was that age, right? And how much of a responsibility is it her son's? Because when your kid has no skin in the game, do they appreciate what you're doing for them? That how do we make sure that the child's approaching it? And she's like, but the girlfriend is mad at me. And I'm like, it doesn't, how much does it matter that the girlfriend is mad at you? Let's put perspective here. But I'm sure it had something to do with something she wanted when she was younger and didn't have the opportunity to have. And that sometimes that comes into play with what we do for our children. Like, what did you not get to do that you want your children to do? But I think sometimes we feel too guilty for things that really are not for us to handle, but you have to be comfortable with that choice.
It makes total sense.
Right, because it's your choice. But when I went to Europe the first time, well, anytime, my parents didn't take me to Europe. I worked. They paid for my trip. I went with a group of there was a group of 18, it was a program, 18 to 35-year-olds. I paid for my trip. I appreciate what I did for myself. And I'm not saying you shouldn't take your kids and have experience. Absolutely. Take your kids, see the world, have experiences. But it should not be your 25-year-old kid gets to have an experience. And you pay for it and you don't get to have an experience. There's something unbalanced about that. And then you're living vicariously through your child. Now, it doesn't mean you don't help your child, but where is the line? Figuring out the line and where you're comfortable with that line.
What mindset would you help parents like from stop enabling or stop empowering?
I think you want to empower your child. You want them to feel grown up. And like the best example is so my daughter right now is living with us, right? And on Tuesday, my husband works from home and we live in a suburban area of New York City. So we paid for the parking. Parking's already paid for at the train station, right? We have a permit. We don't drive her to the station. She takes herself to the station. She's going to drive herself back from the station. When she did it last week was the first week. I said, how did this feel? She goes, I felt grown up. And she's been told that any other day of the week, she goes in early than my husband does, so she'll drop her. She could take the key and go take the car back and drive back as long as she's willing to pick him up. Now I've given her the choice. It's on her to choose to walk back or take the car back. But I empowered her. Because if I let her live here and I bring her back to being a teenager when she's going on 25, that would be a disaster.
And that happens.
Well, yeah. And I've seen it happen with her. So it's like, you come home and you're like, you take 3 steps forward, you come back, you take 2 steps back. I think it's a song.
Yeah, I know what
Taking
you're
three
talking
steps
about.
forward and 2 steps back, then opposites attract. But really, I watched her do it. It's like you want to live here, you have to live here as an adult, not as a child. And it's kind of cool to be able to enjoy your adult children as adults. So how do you get a parent to let their children be the age that they are? And in today's days, it's a little challenging because I have friends who, because of cell phones, talk to their children or text every day. And if they don't hear from their child, they assume that there's something wrong. Now, back in the old days, kids went away to school. I didn't. There was a phone call once a week. I didn't live with my parents. I didn't speak to them every day. They didn't assume something happened to me. So, how do we find a comfort without making our children crazy and letting them be adults?
100% agree with that.
It's hard. And you'll see as your children grow up, it's how do you make them part of the family and give them some level of responsibility. Not a level of burden, a level of responsibility so they feel connected, they feel part. Because Lord knows it's easier to just do everything for them, right? It's harder to let them empty the dishwasher. It's harder to let them set the table because it's much faster to do it the way you want.
Yeah, it was different before. It was you get your ass beat, and now it's totally different now. Two different generations, so different.
It's very very different. It's very different. But
A lot has
figuring
changed.
out how to do it is hard.
A lot has changed, especially with technology and kids on their phones. When I grew up, it was I was always outside
And your parents
playing
probably didn't know
sports.
where you were. You were
Exactly.
expected to come home at a certain time and you came home or you got in trouble because you didn't come home.
And there was no phones at that time, so you just knew you had to come at 7:30 for
Well,
dinner.
I've told the story of there was a payphone in front of the playground by my house. We only had one phone line and I needed to make a phone call. I took my quarters. I think at first it was dimes, then it was quarters, right? And I'd walk over to the payphone and make my phone call. But then we can't even talk about instant gratification that didn't exist. You got presents what for the holidays for your birthday, right? It wasn't so easy to jump on and oh, that kid has a scooter. That looks really cool. You know what? I'm gonna get one for my kid too. You get online and you order the scooter. There's no anticipation anymore.
What's your opinion on young kids using telephones or cell phones? I mean,
That's a real complicated thing because my son got it because I don't live in a bus community, but the walk to school was 20 minutes. So we got it going into sixth grade because he was walking to school. Flip phone, I think that's what they had at the time, right? He put his phone on to tell me he was leaving school, shut it off, and then come home. Years later, my daughter's in fourth grade, and the whole entire basketball team has smartphones. And we had gone for pizza, I think, after the last game or something. And so, do I get her a phone so she could be part, or do I make her wait? And it was a big dilemma because if she doesn't have the phone, she's not part. And weighing and balancing how that works, but that's the same thing as the clothing thing in your neighborhood, right? Which you're not up to. But when all the kids were getting Uggs and all the kids were getting North Face jackets, and that's the uniform of the neighborhood. What point do you make? Do you buy it? Do you not buy it? How do you justify it? Especially if it goes against what your moral code. But then again, your kid sticks out if you don't. I think I made my kid read a certain amount of books. And the other, I think for the jacket, she had to read so many books. And I think the boots I made a holiday gift because I couldn't justify just doing it.
what would be a message that you would want to send to parents struggling with a child?
Just try to figure out a way that you can help them that you feel comfortable. You relook at it, try to find the positives, but try to figure out how to help the negatives. Reach out to the community, reach out to your school system, talk to other parents, talk to a life coach, and get support.
Amy, how can people reach out to you? Because what
So
you're telling us is amazing. It's gonna touch a lot of people. This is a topic that people don't talk about.
there's so much that people don't talk about. My email address is, and it's so silly that I don't know it offhand, but I'm gonna,
It's all right.
it's coachbyamyc@gmail.com.
All right. So
And the
everybody know.
podcast, and the podcast will be 15 minutes with Amy and Faith. And if you look on Facebook and Instagram, it is all lowercase letters, 15 spelled out.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate you being on my podcast. Uh, you already set the platform for parents to discuss with you personally and for you to give the advice to them to help them out.
Well, I think it's not just advice, it's just talking it out and having somebody that is not personally involved in your life hearing you. And I was working with someone on something else, and they told me that they did a lot of self talk, right? But when they talked to me, they said, wow, I didn't know that's how I sounded. So that's the benefit of working with a coach, is that you get to hear your thoughts in a way that you don't hear it when you just say it to yourself. Or when you say it to someone that's got a vested interest in what happens. I'm only there to be your partner. I'm not there to judge. I'm not there to be, I'm not involved in what happens. I'm only there for you.
Amy, I want to thank you again for taking your time and congratulations on your new podcast.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing it and hopefully being a guest.
Oh, we'll work that out.
Yeah, I definitely would be a guest on your show. Keep me in mind. This is Real Battles, Real People. Take care, everybody.